Hey, what's up? It's Mr. Dean, and platforming games are still for f***ing losers. I talked about how stupid platforming games are in my Super Mario RPG video a while back, and I realized just how many Mario RPG games are left to go, so let's just go ahead and kick that off with Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. Okay, yeah, jokes aside, Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64 is one of my favorite video games of all time. I mean, granted, I could name like 5 games in the Mario RPG series that hold a special place in my heart, and this is one of them. I am going in order with these retrospectives, and I will flip-flop between Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi, by the way. Sorry for the plug, just wanted to throw that in there. Anyways, so after the release and well-received game Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo, it was a bit of a question mark as for how the series would continue. Originally, the sequel was planned to be titled Super Mario RPG 2 and be released on the Nintendo 64 DD add-on, which that fell through since the Nintendo 64 DD just refused to be a success. Yeah, basically the N64 DD was meant to be an add-on that would make the 64 more advanced, with features like connecting to the internet, increased potential for storage, and a real-time clock. However, Nintendo kept pushing the release of the thing back to the point where they lost developers. Nintendo also opted to not call the game Super Mario RPG 2 since that would require collaborating directly with Squaresoft at the time, so why not make their own Mario RPG franchise instead? Apparently, the decision to base the game with a paper aesthetic was brought about with the concern that the player base would be fatigued with the traditional 3D graphics seen on other games. Going for a unique paper aesthetic would help to show off the charm, which, spoiler alert, they were correct. I will get more into my thoughts on the game's art style throughout the video, but I just always have a smile on my face whenever I play this game. Another thing that was interesting about this is how the battle system would be developed. They knew this game was going to be marketed as even more of a mainline Mario game than Super Mario RPG was. What that meant was that a lot more younger people were likely to take this game for a spin. If the battle system was too advanced like many RPGs were, then that could be a problem. The decision that would end up being reached was making the actual fighting system very simple, even simpler than the one seen in Super Mario RPG. However, additional features such as timed attacks would allow for those traditional RPG mechanics to creep their way in. There would also be a selection of badges that could be unlocked by playing through the game, this giving a sense of growth as the player would feel as though they get more powerful throughout their journey. You also level up occasionally while playing, which allows you to either increase your heart points, flower points, and badge points. Your heart points equates to your health in battle, flower points determines your ability to use special attacks, and badge points determines how many badges you can equip. Different badges also cost differing amounts of badge points. Once again, I will get more into this as we go through the game. And as always, this will be one massive spoiler fest if you've never played the game yourself, so this is your spoiler warning for the thriller plot we got going on. Alright, time for the plot. It is the same f***ing thing as Super Mario RPG. Well, kind of. Nintendo did spice it up this time around with extra stuff, but at its core, it's essentially the same story. So basically, there is a Star Rod which can grant any wish, right? The Star Rod also resides up in a place called Star Haven, and the Star Rod is used to watch over the Mushroom Kingdom thanks to the help of the 7 Star Spirits. Well, one day, Bowser and Kami Koopa come and steal the Star Rod, so it is our job to put an end to this whole charade. Bowser also steals it since now it will let him defeat Mario, which holy fuck, Bowser is actually pathetic. Bowser, let me cut it to you straight. You need a literal invincibility power in order to still lose to Mario. Get the fuck out of here. As per usual, Peach invites Mario and Luigi to a party at her castle because how could that possibly go south? Right away, whenever we arrive at the castle, you get to talk to everybody there, and just like in the original game, all of the characters are so charming and fun to talk to. This world truly feels so lively to be a part of. Anyway, we make it up to Peach and she wants to spend some alone time with Mario. I wonder what that could mean. Well, cock-blockulous Bowser over here ruins the moment, and now we are here fighting Bowser. What's cool about this fight is that we actually get our asses whooped, which Bowser uses the Star Rod to turn invincible. What an actual loser. When Mario lands, we see the Star Spirits watching over him and manifesting Mario's eventual victory. The oldest Star Spirit, Eldstar, also gives Mario a vision telling him to go to a place called Shooting Star Summit. We then wake up here in Goomba Village, and this is another really cool thing about this game. Many of the friendly NPC characters in this game are repurposed versions of typical Mario enemies. So normally Goombas are bad guys, but here they are pretty chill. One of them is even our biggest fan. Mario doesn't say anything or offer an autograph or show really any sort sort of appreciation for this, but I'm still grateful. Once we talk to everyone here in Goomba Village, the gate finally gets fixed since that was blocking us from leaving the village originally. Well, nope, never mind. Now Koopa comes to check if Mario is alive and just blocks the gate. I find this whole sequence kind of ironic since she is talking about how laughable and hilarious the concept of Mario being able to beat Bowser is, but then still puts in this whole effort into trapping us in Goomba Village. Like, if you were so confident I wouldn't be able to beat Bowser, then f***ing let me at him. Koopa is scared and won't admit it. Anyway, our friend Goomba is out here working on the veranda and he likely still has the hammer, so let's go ahead and get it so we can break the block. So basically the balcony that Goomba was working on crashed apart, so now we are stuck here below Goomba Village. We end up finding Goompa's hammer in a bush though, which is nice and dandy. We can use this in battle or be environmentally irresponsible by whacking at trees. And now it's time for our very first run-in with a boss against Junior Troopa. I remember this guy pissing me the f off as a kid, but nowadays he is just way too adorable to hate. He reappears throughout the game and is like your stereotypical goofy bully that tries to take you out on your journey. I love how once you beat him, he is just there like, "This is not the last that you will see of me. I mean it." This shit is so corny, I love it so much. I'll also use this time to talk about what the battling looks like here since it's the very first instance of fighting in this game. Now this is the simplest that fighting will look in this game since it's the very first enemy, but just like in Super Mario RPG, this is a turn-based game. You can either use your hammer here or jump, or you can run away from battle if you are a wimp. In the next sequence, you can get even more experience with battling, with the game introducing us to the mechanic of striking first, aka if you jump on an enemy or hit them with your hammer in the overworld, you will do the same to kick off the battle. Here we also find our first star piece. These are used to trade for badges throughout the game, so seeking them out is highly beneficial. Finally, we make our way back to Goomba Village where it is decided that Goombario will aid us on our journey as a partner. Every chapter of this game we have a new partner introduced, and I will give my thoughts on all of them and their abilities as we trot through the game. Goombario is kind of our guide character. In the overworld he can tell us briefly about whatever area we are in or about whatever character we are looking at. Also in battle the partners have a turn and can help fight a little bit, however they don't have health, so it's important to keep Mario alive since if Mario dies then it's a wrap. In battle, Goombario has a head bonk move where he can just mindlessly ram himself into the enemy, and Tattle where he can just give info about whatever the enemy is. Also, once you use Tattle on an enemy, it'll permanently show a health bar below them in battle. Also, Goomba gives us our very first badge, being the Power Jump badge, which costs 1 badge point and increases the power of our jump attack, however it does cost 2 FP to use. I love the charm of how as soon as we leave Goomba Village and read this billboard it says beware of Goombas and then a Goomba pops out. That is so creative. One more thing about battling this early in the game by the way, after winning a battle you will notice orbs falling from their bodies. Every time we get 100 of these we level up. This is an excellent incentive to continue fighting in order to progress through the game properly. Also right here is where I got my first item after beating a Goomba, that being a mushroom. Just like in Super Mario RPG, items can be used for a variety of purposes. In the mushroom's case it can heal Mario's HP. This leads us into another few boss fights against Red and Blue Goomba, which is then followed by King Goomba. Neither of these fights were too eventful, but they were definitely filled with their own level of charm. Let me just say I f***ing love this game. This switch comes out of this bush after the fight, and right after we press it, there's that stereotypical moment where King Goomba is like, "Nice fight Mario, don't press the button no," and then we just watch shit go down as the castle crumbles apart. And after we run off towards Toad's Town, we are being stalked by Koopa, who then goes and reports to Bowser. Yeah, so in this game we get some behind the scenes of the villains in action, and I love these parts so much. I have a soft spot for seeing villains written with such cheesy dialogue, it's so great. It's revealed that the gentlemen guarding the first Star Spirit are the Koopa Bros, and damn it, I love these guys. They say shit like the power of teamwork, and we are supposed to hate them? I also love how Bowser asks who is guarding the fort, and since they are reporting to Bowser, no one is at the fort and Bowser gets all angry. Anyway, we finally make it to Toad Town, and this Toad tells us how the entire town is in an absolute uproar since Peach got kidnapped, but I don't know, between the mellow music and everyone looking like they don't give a f***, I'm gonna assume that this really isn't that big of a deal. Also, if you go through this pipe here, we can run into Luigi, and as per usual, Luigi is just completely left out. Yeah, this whole time Luigi is stuck watching over the house, and when Luigi brings this up, Mario just runs off. You know what, maybe MatPat was right about Mario. Back at Toad Town, there are also a good deal of other buildings that aren't available to us yet, so I will bring them up as we go through our adventure. If we head up towards where Peach's castle was, we continue down this path until we eventually reach the Shooting Star Summit. One path here leads us to Merluvlee, who we can spend coins to get a fortune from here, aka she tells us where to find star pieces and such. And also Merlot is here where we can buy badges for star pieces. If you go up this little hill, then we can get some more of that juicy Paper Mario backstory. So here the 7 star spirits are explaining to us how we must go throughout the Mushroom Kingdom and rescue them so that way we can gain the power needed to defeat Bowser. They are also trapped throughout the Mushroom Kingdom and are speaking to us as holograms. I want to point out this dumbass Goombario, by the way. After speaking to the star spirits, Goombario goes like, wow, things actually seem to be pretty serious, like wow, no fucking shit, you dumb f***. This was Peach's castle a minute ago. Did you really think that this was all sunshine and rainbows or something? Well, I mean, I guess the toads at Toad Town don't seem to be too fazed by the situation, so what do I know? I guess it does happen like every other day at this point. And now it's time for a Princess Peach cutscene, and holy shit, we are still in the prologue right now. Basically, this little star named Twink comes and starts banging on the door. Now, I'm no expert on these kinds of situations, but I feel like it's just kind of a bad idea to just start mindlessly banging on the door when the person holding Peach prisoner is like 20 feet away, but that's just me though. Anyway, Twink tells us that it is here to grant Peach's wish, and after a few failed attempts, she sends Twink off to find Mario, give him an item, and tell Mario that she is fine. Well, 30 seconds later, and Twink already found Mario by complete serendipity because that's just the most Mario thing to happen. So this key item Peach gave us is the Lucky Star, which allows us to do action commands, making combat even more engaging now. Just like before, you can click A right before hitting an enemy to do more damage when attacking or take less damage when on defense. Twink demonstrates this to us by having Mario and Goombario, the 2 people who are the last hope to saving the world, beat the out of each other. Finally, we make it to this building with a spinning dome for a roof, and inside is Merlin, who is a wizard who guides us on our journey. He tells us to go to the Koopa Troopa Fortress where the first star spirit is. The crazy part is that he almost lets us walk away without finding out that we need to find a blue-shelled Koopa to be successful. Did you not maybe think that that'd be crucial information for me to know? What the fuck, Merlin? He literally almost just let us walk away and die, basically. Well, finally, it is time to get into chapter 1. Man, this is gonna be a long one. Okay, so we go down this path, which eventually gives us the option of going to a little town called Koopa Village. Inside, fuzzies are wreaking havoc by stealing the Koopa shells, which it's funny to me that this is presented as more of an urgency than a kidnapping back at Toad Town. Also, this one fuzzy that keeps jumping around, and it took me like 15 minutes to get it. In one of the houses, there is a blue-shelled Koopa Troopa named Cooper who is missing a shell. We follow the fuzzy to go get it, and once we do, he joins our party as our second partner. His abilities are being able to throw his shell to get items and interact with certain objects in the overworld, and he has a power shell attack in battle. If we continue along the path, we eventually reach the Koopa Troopa Fortress, where we get multiple hilarious instances of the Koopa Bros genuinely being terrified to fight Mario. I respect them for accepting their emotions of inadequacy towards us versus this buffoon over here, but still they are just way too funny. I like how a lot of this fortress is almost set up like a really simplified Zelda dungeon. It's really cute. Eventually, the golden Koopa Bro sets a trap at the top of the tower that we fall into, which brings us back down to the bottom of the tower. Well, the joke is on them since we run into a group of Bob-ombs that have also been held prisoner. After talking to them, we learn about how the Koopa Troopas are fearing a Bob-omb uprising, so why not team with them, right? Well, that's what Bombette suggests. Bombette is our next partner who is able to go boom boom on command. I like how this whole time they are all dumbfounded on how to escape, and when Bombette explains, she just casually suggests blowing up a crack in the wall since apparently that thought had just never occurred to her. I also find it very interesting how none of the other bombs even bother trying to escape once we leave, even though they were all just talking about how much they were dying to get out of here. Like literally, I went to go back and talk to one of the Bob-ombs and they were just like, we will find a way out, when I just gave them a fucking way out. Eventually, we make our way to this outdoor bridge area where the Koopa Bros try to thwart our plans with these Bullet Bill launchers, and I hate fighting the Bullet Bills, they are so annoying. However, once we make it through, we have the finale of Chapter 1, the fight against Bowser. Yup, our Koopa Bros dress up as a fake Bowser, which is really cute, however, that part of the fight is very easy as well. Once they take the Bowser suit off, they do a lot of damage, that being 1 damage point for every Koopa that is still remaining, so this was definitely more of a doozy of a fight. For me, I found that it was effective to use Bombette to quickly knock all of them down and then switch to Cooper to attack them all at once. Anyway, once you do win in this fight, they get knocked down to a prison cell, haha dorks, and we rescue Eldstar as our first Star Spirit. Chapter 2 time. Here we get the party started controlling Peach trying to find a secret exit out of this room. For some reason, Peach just randomly remembers a secret passage that is inside of this room, specifically in the fireplace. Okay, a few things here that are stupid about this. 1, why the f is there a secret exit in the fireplace in the first place? 2, how does Peach not just remember where the secret exit is? Instead, we have to do the grueling work of finding it. Obviously, I am joking around. I love the Peach segments of this game. They are really adorable. This then leads us to Bowser's diary, and they just make it so difficult to hate Bowser. The way he writes in his diary is just so goofy. Bowser even just casually reveals where the next star piece is being hidden and exactly how to rescue it, which is a little silly, but thank you, much appreciated. Once we go back to Mario, we learn how to use star power. Basically, each star spirit that we rescue will grant us a star move that we can use, with there being a gauge that slowly increases over battle. We can use the move Focus to regain star power at the expense of a turn, or if we have the gauge filled up to 1 star, we can gain 5 HP and FP with a refresh. The star moves are a very welcome feature to me as it adds that extra layer to battling. Now you have more options with what you can do with your turns to strategize, which is great. Then while heading back to Toad Town, we run into this f***ing dork again. I love clicking that I don't remember him during this interaction just to really humble him. Also during this battle, he uses his new move where he just hides like a f***ing pussy the whole time. Awesome stuff, man. We finally make it back to Toad Town, and by the way, I'll just mention this now, but just perusing around Toad Town is so much fun in this game. This isn't even my favorite hub area in the Paper Mario series as a Rogue Port exists, but this one is just so much fun to talk to everyone. Anyway, if you head on down south, we can officially kick off the quest for the second Star Spirit on the train heading to Mount Rugged. Here at Mount Rugged, we very quickly run into this silly little person named Parakarry who dropped a letter, so now it is our job to go find it. I love how right after talking to him, he says he is gonna look all over for it and then just proceeds to go back and forth over 5 feet in a never-ending loop. We bring him 1 envelope, he asks for 2 more, oh my fuck, fine. Bring those to him, and now Parakarry is our next partner, hooray. Now we can fly over small gaps, which is required to make it through this chapter. Time to head on over towards Dry Outpost and the single most insufferable part of this entire game. This is because of the fucking enemies you have to fight here being absolutely obnoxious. First are the bandits, which steal your coins and run away with them if you don't beat them in time, and even worse are the Pokies, which I actually game overed against. While we are out here in Dry Desert, there are some fun little activities to keep us occupied. It should be noted that Dry Desert takes place in a 7x7 grid, so navigating it can be a little bit convoluted if you don't know what you are doing. So for instance, if you run over to this stone cactus and go 2 tiles south and 1 east and go into this tornado, we are able to get the spin attack badge. Or we can go 2 south and 2 west for a sound effect badge, but that's boring, so who cares. Anyway, Dry Outpost is on the east side of this path in Dry Desert, and this is the little town area of chapter 2. We got some fun little characters here. One, for instance, gives us secrets in exchange for items, which thanks to that trusty old friend named Google, this is f***ing useless. Also, if you go behind these boxes, we can talk to Merlee over here, and she can cast a spell that can affect battle in the future by doing stuff like raising our attack power or the amount of XP we get from battle randomly. Now let me go ahead and catch you up on some of the lore around here. There is a group of underground criminals which supposedly are led by a man named Mustafa. We need to find where his whereabouts are since he knows the secret of getting to the Dry ruins, which of course is where we need to go for our second Star Spirit. So if we go into the item shop and buy a dried shroom and a rusty hammer in that specific order, it acts as a secret code, which is really stupid, but sure, we will roll with it. The shopkeeper tells us that Mustafa is on the roof, so to the roof we go. We talk to Mustafa, he just kind of trusts us with no security clearance whatsoever and gives us a magical orb that we can place on a pedestal in order to open up the ruins. Now right away in the ruins, we have our new award for the prestigious honor of Matt's least favorite enemy, the bats. Holy shit, these things are annoying. They clamber to the ceiling, so you have to use something like a Quake camera to get them down, and then it makes me switch from my beloved Cooper since he can't attack them. Now there are some fun little things going on here in the ruins. First of all, I love the character Tootin' Koopa, which is like the big bad enemy of the ruins, and it'll commentate occasionally whenever we run into new rooms. I just love the way Nintendo writes these really obnoxiously overconfident enemies, it's great. Don't let the name Dry Ruins fool you, this really is not that hard of a dungeon. Believe me, whenever whenever I say that I am kind of a fucking idiot, so if I can navigate my way around some ruins, then it really isn't that bad. Here we unlock the super hammer, which can destroy stone blocks that block parts of our navigation, and we stumble across this blue block which can be used to upgrade one of our party members. And now in order to make our way through the temple, we need to find 3 stones called the diamond, moon, and pyramid stone and place them in this order in this room. And finally this brings us to the boss fight, and surely Toot and Koopa must be a ferocious boss for all the smack talk we have been getting, and nope. Yeah, unironically, some of the regular enemy boss fights in this game were harder than this. This more so was annoying than hard since I wasn't able to use my main man Cooper for most of it. Once again, we now take back over Peach to do a little recon mission, and I'm sorry, but I just love these parts of the game so much. Basically, Bowser mentions that Tubba Blubba has the next Star Spirit, and nope, never mind, the Star Spirit escaped. Well, obviously, we must learn more about this whole thing, so now we make our way secretly to the library to eavesdrop on these minions talking about Tubba Blubba in the most obviously plot convenient way possible. Like, they literally spill out every little possible detail which is useful for us but embarrassingly stupid for them. What's even stupider is that Peach decides to start yapping to Twink for literally no reason and we get sent back to our rooms. Wow, great job Peach. We cut back to Mario and now we have our star gauge increased by 1 slot, as well as us unlocking the lullaby ability which can make enemies fall asleep. Now before we officially head on off into chapter 3, let's take a little detour in Toad Town and see what other fun little amenities wait for us. Going into this random pipe leads us into the Toad Town sewage system, which is actually really in depth and fun to just search all over the place in. In it, we fight a bunch of bloopers throughout the game who just have way too much health. Occasionally, we will find some blue pipes which bring us to previous locations we visited throughout the game, acting as a nice little fast travel system. Also on the far right side, we can get a badge, yay. Over by the train tracks, there is this really cute little pig farm that serves no purpose other than this really bizarre and ominous toad that I guess runs the whole thing. Actually, now that I say that sentence out loud, I feel like there is some questionable ethics going on here. There is also this orange house who is inhabited by the iconic Tasty T, who we can give her items in order to cook them into more efficient versions of themselves. However, be careful as you may give her something she doesn't know how to cook and she will just straight up give you a mistake. Enough messing around, back on our journey. If we cross this bridge, we can see this frightened toad being taunted by some ghosts, and lo and behold, this is the entrance into our 3rd chapter. So we run into this very proper and sophisticated Boo that tells us that his master is awaiting to meet us in his mansion, and then he just jump scares us for no reason at all. This actually got me, by the way. I was caught completely off guard. Our passage to the mansion is through the Forever Forest, which is kind of like the Lost Woods from the Legend of Zelda games. Basically, there are different sections, each with a variety of exits. If you take the wrong one, then you get sent all the way back to the beginning. This isn't too difficult since the correct exit has something different about it from the rest though. However, I will say that I proclaim these stupid green fuzzies as being the enemies with the most punchable faces in the whole game up to this point. They are these little parasites that take away our health and gain health from it, and it makes me so mad. Anyway, we finally make it to the mansion, and let's see what business we got going on in here. First of all, these doors look like chocolate bars and you will not convince me otherwise. I will give Nintendo credit, this is a genuinely pretty creepy haunted house. Now as for what we do in here, well, first off we go into this room to get this record. These boos are hoarding it for literally no reason other than to be annoying. However, we get it, put it into this phonograph to play some music and distract this boo. Once distracted, we can open the chest and get this weight. If we go to the lobby and bounce on this couch, it'll launch us up onto the chandelier, opening up another door, and putting the weight down will keep the chandelier in place. Now we can head into the basement where eventually we can get some brand new boots, allowing us to do a spin jump, which then if we go to the final room on the 1st floor, we can spin jump down to get a portrait of this boo. If we put the portrait in this picture frame, we can make it to the 3rd floor and finally talk to Bo, who is our next partner. Doing all of that for the first time with no walkthrough was really fun, by the way. It wasn't overly complex or anything. So now we learn that Tubba Blubba loves eating boos, so they are threatened by him, and they are also keeping our next Star Spirit hostage, so that way we will agree to join them in stopping Tubba Blubba. I don't know what kind of immoral monster they think that Mario is. Of course we would have said yes regardless. Actually, Mario's pretty bad, never mind. With Bo as our partner, we can now become invisible. However, while we are invisible, we must stay in place. So we must cross Gusty Gulch in order to make it to Tubba Blubba's mansion. On our way, we witness a f***ing murder happen, holy shit. Yeah, slap that rated M on this game. Oh yeah, that is Tubba Blubba, by the way. As for Tubba Blubba's mansion itself, there isn't a whole lot going on here. Basically, we get to the top part of the mansion after fighting a lot of enemies and we get confronted in this hallway. You need to properly use Bo's invisibility power in order to avoid Tubba, which I didn't do and had to fight him. And by fight him, I mean run away since he's kind of unfightable at the moment. So we go to his bedroom, he goes to get some lovely beauty sleep, which is really cute, and now we get to open up this chest. Basically inside is Tubba Blubba's key that can open up the windmill, and it starts screaming since it knows that we aren't actually Tubba Blubba. And bam, now we got this chase sequence where we run away from Tubba Blubba, and now we must head to the windmill since that is supposedly where the secret is. These boos, by the way, they stop and talk to us while the invincible serial killer is after us for like 45 straight seconds. We finally go into the windmill and take on the heart of Tubba Blubba. Yeah, so this thing right here is what controls him, and what we see on the outside is just a frame or something like that. After beating it up some, it tries to escape into Tubba Blubba itself, where we finally defeat him once and for all. And with that, we are all done with chapter 3. Now we go back to controlling Peach and we eavesdrop on Bowser dropping the name Shy Guy's Toy Box. Interesting. When he finds Peach out of her room, he also asks what things Mario hates the most, and we can just say stuff like mushrooms and useful items, which this is a funny gag and everything, but like how does Bowser not know that mushrooms help Mario? Obviously this game happens canonically after his first run-in with Mario, he should know this by now. We also get our next new star ability, that being Star Storm. This costs 2 star power and lets us do 7 damage to all enemies, which it is pretty useful. And we run back into this goofball when returning back to Toad Town, yay. Once we return to Toad's Town, our favorite chef has her frying pan stolen by a Shy Guy, which now things have gotten serious. If you go into this empty house and turn invisible, a Shy Guy will come and open an entrance to Shy Guy's Toy Box, aka Chapter 4, aka my absolute nightmare. So first off, the fucking out of the music in this area, it actually pisses me off. Secondly, these Shy Guy enemies are genuinely so annoying that it makes everything else up to this point look like child's play. So basically this train is currently broken, so we only have 2 rooms we can go in. At one point in this left room we can fight the gray Shy Guy to get a damage boosting badge, and he had way too much health for my liking. There are also various items throughout Toad's Town that were stolen by the Shy Guys, so while we are down here we need to fight to get those back. One of said items is the storeroom key, so we can collect that, bring it to the shop in Toad's Town, and the shopkeeper is nice enough to let us into the back room to get any items we want. One of these items is the train that is currently missing down in the toy box. Eventually we run into a guy named Gourmet Shy Guy who requests a cake, so now we have to run all the way back to Toad Town to give Tacy T her frying pan back, and as a treat she gives us a cake. She spends like 5 seconds baking it, by the way. I'm not a professional, but that just seems a little bit too quick. We bring it back and okay, what the f***? The Gourmet Shy Guy also drops a cookbook, so now it's time to go all the way back again. Giving back the cookbook allows Tacy T to mix 2 of our items for a recipe, which is lovely and dandy and all until she gives us back a mistake. Oh, for sake. So if we continue on the whole recovering parts of the train and fighting some very annoying enemies thing we got going on here, we eventually reach this pitch black room where we fight the boss Big Lantern. This boss wasn't too hard, but I almost died because I was being an idiot and forgot to bring any heals with me. Basically it holds a lantern that you need to hit in order to illuminate, which allows you to attack it. The catch is that it can attack and flash her partner, stunning them, which is no fun at all. It is also here where we unlock our next party member, being Watt. Basically she can illuminate the dark rooms we are in, allowing us to see. Awesome. Afterward we chase down some Shy Guys, which eventually leads us to the ultimate boss of chapter 4, General Guy. This is one of my personal favorite bosses in the game because of how silly he is. Like, he just keeps shooting his infantry at us and it just doesn't work over and over. I truly admire the confidence though. So now we are back to controlling Peach, and somehow Bowser has still not blocked off the secret route through the fireplace. We go down the hallways until we reach our homeboy Gourmet Guy, who requests that we bake him a cake. We have to go all the way to the first floor to the supposed 5-star kitchen. A 5-star kitchen that doesn't even tell us how much of each ingredient to use, by the way. It says use sugar and eggs, which is just a tad bit open to interpretation in my personal opinion. Also, the game has you bake it for 30 seconds. 30 fucking seconds, are you serious? This cake is gonna just be soup at this point. It also makes you count in your head for this part, but thankfully today we have phones, so f you Nintendo, I'm cheating here. We get back to Gourmet Guy and he freaks out again. I love this man, he's so funny. He also tells us that the 5th star spirit is hidden in a volcano, so now we know what our next mission is. We also meet our next star spirit named Muscular, who we can use to lower the attack power of enemies. I love this interaction of Twink meeting him for the first time and getting starstruck. Literally. So now we walk over to the port on the southeast part of town. Colorado just says that there is no way to get to Lava Land Island where we need to be, but Mario does not take no for an answer. Instead, he just jumps on this whale. What? Okay, the whale has a stomach ache, so now we just walk into its mouth. Oh, for f***'s sake. We fight its little parasite thing, and finally it thanks us by taking us over to Lava Land Island. I feel like this was a fever dream that just happened. Here we find Yoshi Village, which is probably my favorite town section in the game. I mean, maybe that's because Yoshi is my all-time favorite character, but I digress. We meet the Fearsome 5 here, who is this group of children Yoshis. Yeah, I'm not buying their bull about that fearsome part. I need to see it to believe it. They literally have a babysitter watching them f off with that shit. The Yoshis bring up how they live right next to the volcano, which just so happens to be where we need to go. The problem is that it's on the verge of erupting. Not only are they remarkably unbothered by this fact, but they aren't even trying to relocate or anything. They are only one section away on the map from the volcano. They really cannot be that far away from it. Anywho, we go to investigate the entrance of the volcano with Colorado, who just keeps getting jumped by enemies and we keep on needing to save him. As we walk back to the village, he even pretends to get attacked just to freak us out. You, Colorado. When we return to Yoshi Village, all of the Fearsome 5 are now gone, presumably in the jungle, damn it. We run into their babysitter named Sushi, and she agrees to help us with locating them, aka our new partner. Sushi can help us swim in the overworld, which is imperative to completing this section. So after we save all 5 of the Fearsome 5 from the jungle, by the way I am revoking that name officially because half of them were crying when we caught them, we get a present from the village leader. Basically we receive a little orb looking thing that we need in order to reach Raphael the Raven, who presumably can help us reach the volcano. After placing this thing in this little monument and going through the next few areas, we then reach this and oh look, we're playing Ocarina of Time now. We climb up the Great Deku Tree and we chit-chat our way into a ziplining volcano entrance. Nice. Also, while we are talking, Raphael gave us an item that can upgrade any of our party members to an ultra rank, which will definitely come in handy later. Eventually, we reach this room where we can once again upgrade our hammer, increasing its attack damage in battle again, and it can break even stronger blocks. We continue on through the volcano and Colorado continues searching for his treasure. At one point, we make this spiky ball roll down to break a hole in the rocks and it knocks Colorado down, which to be honest, that's all his fault for being a dumbass. And finally, we reach the boss fight, and this is where I must bring up the Nintendo Switch Online because WoW was bad. For this specific boss, the frame rate dropped significantly to the point where I wasn't even able to time up my attacks or defenses at all. I was still able to beat the boss, but like, it was insufferable. I looked this up online just to check, and it looks like I wasn't the only person that this happened to. So if you were looking to play Paper Mario, I would probably suggest either using the original hardware or a Wii U Virtual Console or something, I don't know. The game is still beatable here, but you got little sections like this boss that are just awful. Anyway, for the boss itself, it has 2 stages where once you do enough damage to this piranha plant, it'll catch on fire, making it much more difficult. Sushi is your best friend here, so make sure to be strategic with that. Assuming you play your cards right, this shouldn't be too difficult, also assuming you aren't on Nintendo Switch Online, of course. Once we defeat the boss, we need to beeline out of the volcano since it's about to erupt and everything. I love this whole character arc of Colorado going from being the cool explorer to being the professional idiot as he just keeps trying to get his treasure. Speaking of treasure, by the way, how is a wooden chest not completely in flames or just gone by the time the volcano erupts? Kicking off chapter 6, you know the drill by now, it's time to control Princess Peach. Basically, all we do here is eventually play a trivia game and win a prize that can allow us to turn into whoever we point our little parasol at. This will be relevant in a little bit. And back to Mario. We talk to our newest star spirit, Escapee, and we unlock the Smooch move, which can restore Mario's HP. And now Junior Troopa himself shows back up again and swims across the entire ocean just to deplete his health by 20 points, and I beat him pretty easily as usual, yawn. on. So now we have to go back to Yoshi's village because after all, Colorado's treasure is still out there. If you get the volcano vase from the chest in the jungle and give it to Colorado, he will give us a flower seed. Well, what do we do with that? So now we have to go all the way back to Toad Town and give our flower seed, nope, I mean 4 flower seeds to Minty the Toad. You can find all 4 flower seeds throughout the game in various locations. I didn't get footage of it, but these are the 4 locations for them. So we arrive at Flower Fields and we learn that this big and evil dark cloud named Huff and Puff has casted a shadow over everywhere. And it's also holding one of our star spirits captive. So our first step of instruction is to find and talk to a flower named Petunia. Once we reach that point, we need to take out some Mountie moles, and in return Petunia gives us a magical seed and specifically says not to plant it because that's cruel since it won't be able to move and it'll live a sad life. Okay, then why the f are you giving me the seed then? And also it says not to find water and soil specifically, so you know what that means. Time to find some water and soil. Also, there is a well right next to where Petunia is, and if you throw a blueberry in it, we get a badge that saves flower points. Heck yeah, man. So the general premise is that we get berries from different trees and give them to the corresponding colored flower. So for instance, we get red berries from a tree in the straight right path, give them to the red flower to let us through, find yellow berries in this area, give them to the yellow flower, and you get the point. In the red flower section, we get our fertile soil, which is good for us, and unfortunately I will have to use this against Petunia's wishes. So if we continue on down our path, we will find a flower at the bottom of an empty pond area, and we find out that we have to find a water stone in order to restore all of the water. So when we go down the blue path, we find a gigantic bush maze that we need to navigate in order to find a flower holding the water stone. Well, problem now is that this goofball is telling us to bring something as pretty as it is, and oh, you conceited asshole. So we go back to the tree in the southwestern path to give us a crystal thing to give to her to satiate her narcissism, and now the water stone is ours. We bring it over to Lily to fill this pond up with water, and now we have access to these bubble berries on this tree. Eventually we can make our way to this tall tower where the sun is just sitting there all sad and stuff. It mentions that we need to go east in order to stop the Huff and Puff machine, so eastward we go. Well, not so fast. On our way there, a Lakitu being named Spike stops us and says that he is one of Huff and Puff's henchmen and he has to come give us a beating. This is a very easy boss fight, so once we absolutely stomp his face in, his girl comes over saying his name is really Lackluster. What? I mean, it isn't even that bad of a name, but he gets offended by it, so I'll just roll on with that gag. Anyway, Lackluster decides to join us after all, since our reason for fighting is so noble or whatever. So now we should go all the way back to Toad Town in order to unlock our Ultra Boots. To get those, we go into the sewer and use Lackluster's ability to go over these spikes, and eventually we reach this room that has the chest that contains the Ultra Boots. These once again increase the attack power of our jump ability and allow us to do a tornado jump in the overworld. We can go through this little vertical block maze on the northeastern pass to finally lead us to the Huff and Puff machine. If we whack at it a few times, we break it, saving the flower field once and for all. We can now plant our magical seed to go way up into the clouds, and now it's time for the real boss battle, the real Huff and Puff itself. Yeah, so breaking the machine wasn't all we had to do. Now we have to actually take the cloud itself out. This is probably the toughest boss battle up to this point in the game. Every time you attack, little clouds will come out of him that he can use to heal. Sometimes he will also charge up for a super powerful attack, so it is probably best to use bow to hide to evade whenever this happens. However, eventually I was able to prevail, and with that, we have only 1 star spirit left to go. Alright, as per usual, we take over Peach again, and if you remember from last time, we gain the ability to shapeshift after the game show. So if we become one of the guards, we can sneak around the castle freely. Eventually we run into one of the guards who is complaining about a slacker on duty, so we go to confront them who is just napping by the front. So what better solution than to just turn into them? I mean, not like we could just wake them up or anything. But yeah, we turn into this misbehaving guard and we can make our way all the way back up to the top of the castle where Kammy Koopa says that Bowser is finally so powerful that even Mario won't be able to stop him. Okay, that's awesome. You have been saying that since the beginning of the game, so obviously you are a little bit scared if you have still been fortifying Bowser even after the point of being invincible. And Kammy Koopa notices that we are Peach because we smell too nice. Ill. We also meet our 6-star spirit escapee, this time being named Kelvar. Here we unlock the move Timeout, where we can basically just stop all enemies in their tracks in battle. Going back to Toad Town, speaking to Merlin will reveal a representative of Shiver City saying that Merlin's son, Merly, is asking to speak to Mario. Well, obviously trouble is going on over there, trouble that even Merly's own father seems to be completely oblivious to. Merlin tells us that the passageway to Shiver City is deep beneath Toad Town, aka deep in the sewers. By the way, shouldn't he be more familiar with how to get to Shiver City considering his own son lives there? Anyway, on my way there I ran into this silly little oddball here who sells items for 64 coins a piece, and I thought that it was pretty cute since this game is on the N64. Anyway, eventually you can go into this room and make these invisible blocks appear, allowing you to reach the blue door. Going inside that door leads us to Shiver City for our final star spirit of the game. Now finally, this is an actually peaceful town. I wonder why Merly even called us over here. All the residents seem to be getting along with us. Look, even this lovely penguin is letting us into the back of her home. I wonder what her husband is up to. Oh. Yeah, this game gets dark real damn quick. He got f***ing killed by someone and now we gotta figure out who. His wife immediately accuses us and when questioned, Mario just goes like, nuh-uh, and the best part is this guy just immediately believes us. Like the guy who is from out of town walked right into the room as he was discovered dead, but it can't be him, he said he didn't do it. So our compromise, since we are obviously innocent, is we cannot leave Shiver City until we bring the true culprit to him. So it's time to become the true detectives and figure out what could have happened.
This penguin mentions a detective in town named Herringway, who was friends with the mayor. Interesting. Herringway was also a world-famous novelist according to this lad. Also knew lots about crime and stuff of the sorts. Definitely need to jot that down. This penguin tells us that Herringway lives next to the lake and is never home. The signs certainly seem to be pointing towards Herringway right now. What reason could he possibly have though? I mean, everyone says that he was good friends with the mayor after all. There's no sign of Herringway inside of his own house, just like everyone has said. Right next to his house is a locked warehouse, and there is a key in this frozen lake. What if... Oh yeah, maybe the lake can be broken. This warehouse seems to have an entry point onto the roof, and which allows us to go through Herringway's chimney. And here he is. Let's see what he has to say for himself. He says he's innocent. Well, now he wants to walk down to the mayor's house with us so we can see what's really going on. Surely it must be Herringway. Who else could it be? Well, guess what? It was fucking nobody.
Yup, the mayor was alive this whole time. He just tripped or some bullshit. I really love how supposedly Herringway and the mayor are good friends, and Herringway said he found this whole thing funny and said this is inspiration for his next novel. The mayor does say that he will tell the gatekeeper to let us leave the city since Starborn Valley is the next place we need to go to. Finally though, we get to enjoy this lovely area. Oh, for fuck's sake. Once again, we stomp him into the ground, nothing new. We eventually run into this cosmic vortex monster thing who is really just a bunch of star children defending their town. Honestly, this is so adorable. And finally, we reach the town and we speak to Merly, and this part is so stupid. He tells us that he had a dream that the star spirit was on top of Shiver Mountain. Oh, are you kidding me? We are going off of a dream that you had? I mean, it ended up being correct, I guess, but this is so silly. Also, ever since Bowser has been abusing the Star Rod, the Star Children have been stuck down here in this town, which gives us urgency in needing to save them. Okay, now we gotta go all the way back to the mayor in order to get our other key item, that being a bucket. If we go in between Shiver City and Starborn Valley, there are a row of snowmen, one missing a scarf and the other one missing a bucket as a hat. If we give them these items, then an opening to an icy cave will open up. Eventually, we need to use Cooper to hit a switch and a ghost impersonates Cooper and we must figure out who the imposter is. Thankfully, the ghost acting like Cooper acts literally nothing like Cooper, so this is very easy and straightforward. This then leads into a little mirage room where we meet Madame Merlar, who is the ancestor of Merlot and Merla. Merlar just kind of yaps for a few minutes about that was really obvious, but anyway, she gives us a stone that we can use to open up a staircase to the Crystal Dungeon, and I still remember years after playing this game for the first time, this being one of the most iconic and memorable parts of the game. Basically, this whole dungeon is built around the premise of there being a mirage splitting the two sides of it, and occasionally you will be able to go through the mirage. This dungeon does such a good job of designing a fun puzzle around this mechanic. It isn't frustrating or anything. Eventually, we reach the big bad boss fight of Chapter 7 against the Crystal King. This to me is once again the hardest boss fight up to this point in the game. This is because he constantly heals himself with 20 HP and can freeze Mario in place, but with some perseverance you can make it through this. We get our final little Princess Peach excursion, and this time there is no more recon mission for us to complete. It is literally just Bowser forcibly making really bad conversation with her and Kammy Koopa freaking out that we got all the Star Spirits. Bowser says to arm all of his troops, and he gives Princess Peach the honor of having front row seats to us absolutely obliterating him. He also slaps Twink through the window, so him for that. And back in the overworld, we got our 7th and final star ability, Up, Up, and Away. With this, it just turns all the enemies into stars. Holy shit. Now we are supposed to go to Star Summit, but on our way, let's go over the last few attractions at Toad Town that I haven't covered yet. Totally not because I just forgot to do them until this point or anything. First is the dojo, where you can fight 2 students and the headmaster himself and get a progressively higher fighter rank each time you successfully win. You don't actually get anything in game from this other than a way for you to train or get praise from other characters. And also there is the post office, where you can read mail sent to the different party members from other characters, and this was really awesome. There was something so charming about seeing what other characters have been sending to them this whole game. It adds so much personality. Alright, now it is finally time to put Bowser's plans to an end. Off to Star Haven. Once we get to Shooting Star Summit, the 7 Star Spirits open up a beam that we can use to traverse upward to Star Haven. Once we get there, we can buy a few items before we actually talk to the Star Spirits. We get one last ability that is necessary for our quest, and we ride off towards Bowser's Castle on this badass Koopa car thing. And with that, it is time for the final chapter of the game, Bowser's Castle. So here's the rundown. We run into the statue of Bowser that recognizes us as Mario and makes a deal with us that if we escape its trap inside the jail, it will let us through the wall. Yeah, sure. Bowser 100% would make a contraption that would bargain with Mario and allow him to proceed to the castle, definitely. For the most part, this is a puzzle-oriented dungeon like the previous stuff we have had, but I really like how this incorporates each of our partner's abilities. It really feels like a culmination of everything that we have done up to this point. I will give a special you to this room with all these bullet bills that you need to avoid. They are so annoying. You constantly would just have to battle them. It got to be really obnoxious. Eventually we run into another Bowser statue that decides to bargain with Mario. Alright, if you insist. Now we have a series of quiz questions that we need to pay attention to how many of different enemies walk out of the doors and stuff like that, and we are allowed 2 misses. Light work. The main other notable part of Bowser's Castle to me is the maze area, where you need to go a certain way through 7 doors. Thankfully, this pattern of lights at the beginning shows you exactly the way you are supposed to go. If we keep on going, we run back into another Bowser statue who summons the Koopa Bros from before, and I love clicking no here saying I don't remember them because they all get offended. To be fair, Koopa Bros are actually cool, so it's just a joke. Are you kidding me? Bro, this little weasel actually pisses me off so much. Anyway, we beat him and we move on to the door at last. And right here, we have reached our final boss fight against Bowser. Well, sort of. We fight him for a few minutes and then we have to chase him down to this little arena that enhances his power, because I'll say it louder for the people in the back, Bowser can't fight for shit. Our star beam isn't powerful enough to stop his invincibility at this point, so now Twink and Kammy Koopa start brawling it out, and I love this part. It's so cute. Watching Kammy Koopa get humbled is always great. Our star beam gets upgraded to the Peach beam, and at last the true battle has begun. This really isn't that bad of a final boss battle in my opinion, assuming you've properly leveled yourself up and everything up to this point. Occasionally Bowser will heal 30 HP, which is the main thing that makes this fight difficult though. Also, he constantly does an attack that makes your partner out of commission for a few rounds, which is quite annoying. But all in all, this is a pretty reasonable final boss fight. I mean, compared to Super Mario RPG, I think basically anything is easy. In that game, I had lost all my brain cells by the end of the Smithy fight. Here though, it is a pretty fun final boss fight, and it is so satisfying finally getting Bowser to shut the f up at the end. Once you do stand victorious, Bowser's castle just explodes, and somehow Peach's castle is just unaffected by this because Mario. And this game has a really adorable ending. All of your previous partners get invited to a party at Peach's castle, because when has that ever gone wrong? It's just so cute seeing them all get excited about this. I love it. Cooper was about to go on a quest with Colorado to the Crystal Dungeon and goes to Peach's party instead, and Colorado gets a note from his wife that he is a no good husband. Nintendo, what the f? I thought this game was supposed to be wholesome. So at the end of all of this, what was it that made this game so damn good? For me, it was a combination of several things. One is the thing that is present in the rest of the Paper Mario series, the writing. This game was genuinely a funny game, whether it was the silly murder mystery in Chapter 7 or Lackluster being embarrassed by his name, there were so many moments in this game that stick with you as a player. The writing is also good from a narrative standpoint, the story being told is simplistic but also somewhat captivating. I wanted to stop Bowser and save Peach. I wanted to rescue the Star Spirits. Sure, it was an admittedly pretty corny plot, but for Paper Mario, I love the campiness of it all. Literally every single NPC that you talk to is fun to talk to. They all have so much personality. There's also so many fun side characters that did not need to be as great as they were. Nintendo did not need to make Colorado a hilarious goofball adventurer that reappears throughout the game, but they did anyway, and it makes it so much greater. They did not need to make Junior Troopa as annoying and stupid and have as much of a punchable face as he had, and man, I hate that guy, but they did anyway, and I love it for that reason. The villains in this game, like Junior Troopa, were the good kind of annoying. Like you wanted to beat them in the best way possible. Aside from the writing, the battling is the next keynote of this game. It is the definition of simple yet effective. If they were aiming for making it so a little kid could understand and grasp it, well, I think that they nailed that goal. However, the added depth of timed attacks, badges, and items makes regular battles and boss battles not boring and monotonous. There's just enough strategy in the battles to make it interesting and thought-provoking. You get to decide which partner you want to use for any given enemy, you get to rearrange which badges best suit your fighting style, you get to decide how to use your star abilities. The battling here is incredibly designed. Another thing about this game that just did not need to be there was the Peach missions. Doing little recon missions as Peach in between each chapter was something they just did not need to add whatsoever, but it was some of my favorite parts of the whole game. It was such a good break in between each chapter, and it is something that stuck around in the future Paper Mario games too, at least the ones I have played up to this point in time. So yeah, in conclusion, Paper Mario for the N64 is a great game, one of the most important games in my life for that matter. So much of this playthrough was a lovely walk down memory lane from the first time I played this game, and I can't wait to go through some of the other Mario RPGs in the future here on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, peace out.